Priya Dutt, I would request you for your kind few words.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sevanthi, esteemed guests on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. It's quite overwhelming for me to be here today, especially with a room full of oncologists. It's really humbling to see this program being launched because I represent those people who really cannot afford the kind of treatment what hospitals have to offer. Many of them, as you know, and I'm sure there are many doctors who have come from Tata Memorial Hospital, and we see the condition of the patients there. So many who can't even receive the treatment because they cannot afford it. Many abandon the treatment. So I think it's really, really important for programs like this, which can really help patients in need, patients who cannot afford. And we've been working in the field for the last 40 years, and we've seen how cancer treatment has improved tremendously. We've got the best hospitals, the best doctors. The treatment is getting better every day, but one thing remains is the cost of treatment. And I think that is something which we really have to look at. And I want to congratulate Dr. Sevanthi to have thought of that. And I think this is going to be a huge step forward, especially for those patients who can come into clinical trials, can get the best treatment, and slow and steady, but I think we are going to be getting there very soon. So thank you so much for having me here and giving me this opportunity to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you for gracing us. For the patients, the patient advocates who are in the room, for my colleagues, I want to bring to light what many of us already know, but would like to know from you directly. And I will begin from the beginning of your cancer journey. Sanju is also the global champion for cancer care and was appointed to be this by the Defeat NCD partnership based in Geneva, and he has been doing work on that with patient awareness, precision awareness. But this is something that happened later after the diagnosis. When he was diagnosed, of course, there must have been many, many emotions that he must have gone through. And so I begin with the question, what were the first feelings when you were told? And how did you react to it?
Good evening, everybody, and it's such an honor to be here today to share my experience. And I just want to thank everybody sitting here and who's willing to help people who are in need like me. I just want to say that I am a real life hero, but she is the real hero out here.
That's very kind.
I mean, I do all the bashing and dancing on screen, but she does it in real life. And as your question goes, Sevanthi ji, is that, I was just talking to my sister and Dr. Tarang and everybody inside, is that how do I come to know that I have cancer? I mean, I didn't know about it. I mean, I had some backache and stuff like that, and I was just being treated, with a hot water bottle and some painkillers. And till I just couldn't breathe, one day. And I was taken to the hospital, and they saw there was a lot of water in my lungs. And they did some tapping stuff. And but the thing was that I had cancer was not broken to me in a proper way. It was done in a different way where my wife was not there, my family, sisters, nobody was there, I was alone. And this guy walks up and he says, okay, you got cancer. So it hit me. I just couldn't understand it. And then my wife was at Dubai, and she didn't know about it. Then Priya was told. Priya came, and she said that I think that you got cancer. So my first reaction was that, okay, I got cancer. What are you going to do about it? I mean, see, you know what happens? Your whole life reflects back on you. I mean, everything just came back, and my children and and I have a history in my family. My mom died of pancreatic cancer. My wife died of the brain cancer and everything. And it was like a shock. So the first thing I said was that let it be. I don't want any treatment. So they said, you have to be treated. I said, I can't take chemotherapy and all that stuff. So let it be. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and I'm going to go. So Rakesh Roshan ji, he spoke to me. And he says, Sanjay, there's this doctor, Sevanti. She's amazing and all that. And you go and be treated by her. I said, sir, I'm not interested. He said, I'll tell you something. She's really pretty also. I said, really? I said, then I'm going. Anyway, but I went and we met Sevanti ji. See, I realized one thing is that I had to fight this, and I just didn't have cancer. That is it. I'm being treated for something else. And I think initially you couldn't understand, I mean, how come I'm telling you all that, right?
That's correct. That's very correct. He said, I'm going to just think I don't have cancer, and whatever it is, I'm going to beat it. That's how I'm going to take it. And I'm just sitting there staring at him, thinking, how we define denial in our books. I thought, oh, he's in denial. But actually, he wasn't in denial. He had just pledged to go through this. Be brave about it. And that's what played out through the treatment.
I saw my family break down. I saw my wife breaking down. I saw my sisters broken. I saw everybody breaking around me. And I decided one night, I sat down and I told myself, I said, if I break down, if I fall sick, they are going to fall sick. So I mean, I got to not fall sick. And I'm going to be so tough. I mean, what is cancer? I mean, I've fought so many battles. I'll fight this thing, whatever it is. And we went for the treatment, and there was a pipe put in my chest, I think to drain the water out. And I remember I told Sevanti ji, this is going to come out in 2 weeks. I told you this?
Yes, correct.
And what happened?
It did. And when he came back for the 2 weekly follow-up, I told the surgeon who had put the tube in, we are in for a challenge because he's expecting that the tube will come out. And will it? Because it was all hemorrhagic. It was bloody pleural effusion. It was bloody fluid in the lung. But 2 weeks later, the fluid had already dried out. That's where I would like to mention the angle of precision. So, Sanjay, when we were testing you, before the treatment, we sent out some tests. We sent out blood tests, we sent out tissue-based tests, and now you're one of the biggest proponents of the testing. So we found a particular test that was positive.
PDL1.
PDL1 test was positive, and we drew diagrams, and we drew if the PDL1 was this much, this is what the treatment will be. If the PDL1 was this much, this is what the treatment will be. But even with the biomarkers, Sanjay, and that's a confession, was overtreated. His PDL1 was very high, but still I didn't have the courage to give him only immunotherapy, which is the standard of care, and he was treated with combination chemotherapy and immunotherapy. And I would like to acknowledge that I did not cut any doses. He is a gentleman with a Caucasian build, and he was hammered with the right doses, 100% doses as per his body surface area. No corners cut. And the day of the therapy, and the next day, and the following day, and the day after, and the day after, he would continue to exercise every day, every single day, 2 hours on the treadmill. And I would get the WhatsApp of his exercises, and many of us who were involved in his care would get that. And you also went back to working almost right away. We want to hear from you how all that happened.
You know, I realized one thing is that, I didn't want to lie about the cancer, people kind of don't want to make it public, and they want to just not tell people, and because, their work suffers, and there are a lot of factors which are involved in this. But I chose to speak about it. Yeah, at the cost of my career or anything, so that I could help people who are in need, And I told Sevantiji is that, Sevantiji, can I please go for my shooting? So she said, no, you can't go for your shooting now. It's just started.
Peak of COVID. Peak of COVID.
Yeah, but chemo had just started.
Oh.
I said, you have to let me go. I said, it's for my my moral boost, and it's for the people of the industry who I'm working with, that I got to go for that shoot. I convinced her and I went. And she said, what is the shoot? I said, I just have to stand there and that's it, But it wasn't like that. I was put on a harness and I was hanging upside down. And
6 hours he was hanging upside down in a harness right after chemotherapy. I was told he was just going to do like a dubbing, a small shoot, something like that. But he was doing that. So one thing that he touched upon very, very quickly was one of his strongest points, and I want to bring that up front as I see I have Priya, Mrs. Priya Dutt in the crowd, and I see Mr. Paresh Gilani, Sanju's good friend here, and Mrs. Manita Dutt as well. One of the things that he touched upon was friends and family. And second thing he touched upon was being upfront. So when he came to treatment with me, and I was getting hounded by media and I wouldn't pick up my phone, I said, Sanju, how do you want me to present the story? And he said, as is. I don't want to hide anything. You can go ahead and tell what you want to, as is, as I'm going through therapy. No changing of facts. That, I think, is very courageous. That, and the fact that he never hid anything from friends and family. And you can see his family and his friend from long distance, his lifetime friend, Mr. Paresh Gilani. Paresh, thank you so much for joining us. And Mana, thank you. A big thank you to you also for joining us.
Thank you, Doc, for having me. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me.
And Paresh, do you want to say something?
Dr. Saranthi, obviously you've been a champion leading this entire effort and doing it. Obviously, and when this whole thing happened, it came shock to everyone, obviously, just as it is every patient actually does when they're told. It's the courage of the patient, which happens to be, Sanju, we call him, and then it's Sanjay Dutt, and the family that comes around and then eventually leans into a caretaker who leads that, which is you, navigating the entire thing. It was a complex role, what we found out. It was COVID, midst of the COVID, don't know what to do, can't stay in the hospital, you may get infected. If you stay there, if you get out, what do you do? It was a chaos in many ways. And how it actually became together as Priya stepped in immediately. Mana, unfortunately, was in Dubai. I was in the US, how it had to be collaborated, but then it was anchored around you to actually lead us to what it is. Courage of Sanju, which is always shown, in many ways, to just buckle up and say, let's face this, and take the bull by the horn, ride it. You led us, and we support it. And obviously the navigation part was extremely important, and I believe how it all came together is obviously a miracle, but it was also very deliberate, on a part of exploring every options that we had. You actually led the way, and then obviously the hospital at that point was full of Kokilaben and your support staffs and everybody. It was definitely an effort, which I believe that should be spread and also been learned from. Giving all the tools and access we had, obviously it was limited because of COVID, but I truly believe that what you have led, along with Sanjay's courage, we're just Priya, myself, Mana, and everybody just played in a supporting cast.
Thank you, and a big thank you to you too, Paresh, for all your support all the way through, and for being Sanju's biggest support so far, and of course his lifetime friend. So thank you, Paresh, for joining us as well. I
must say, right, Sanju didn't stop because he said, okay, this is a treatment for me. And he literally sent in, because, when he said, he goes, brother, listen, I have it, mom had it, wife had it, this happened, what do we do as I go along? He always kept in mind, said, well, okay, fine, we're getting this, and we can get into details later, but how do we explore this precision medicine and extremely cutting edge technologies that we actually are researching around the world? And then when he mentioned, I said, bro, I think these options are here. Intimately, we're not gonna have any stone untorn for your care. Let's start with what you're doing, and then we move on to make sure that we have even as a secondary, third, second, fourth option stuff. And then when he visited, obviously came to US, for Explore, his first thing was, brother, listen, not everybody will have this access. How do we extend this thing to everyone else, where they can't afford? Very similar to Mom used to say, right? How do I afford the diagnostics? How do people even know they have cancer? How do we do that? And then he was constantly involved. How do we take this, what I'm able to access, take it back home and explore it to everybody? And which is, I believe, the man just faces everything head on. Along with it, he kept on saying, hey, is there anything we can help everybody along with it? They will never have access to this, what you have and what we have, right? Which is, I truly believe that's one thing you're trying to bring back to the mass access, and I commend you for it.
Yes, that is the hope, that's the goal, and the reason to really welcome Sanju to this stage was to raise the awareness, elevate the cause, bring it to be bigger than me and the doctors in this room. It's all about the patient. It's all about him, how he sought the diagnostics, how he turned around to take the treatment. Someone who had the first thoughts of not getting treated, then treated and in complete remission, and what a story. I say Sanjay Dutt, Mr. Sanjay Dutt is a poster child of precision oncology, and 2 years later, even the immunotherapy has been stopped. He remains in complete remission with no evidence of disease. With that, I thank Paresh, and I would like to welcome Mrs. Manita Dutt. Mana, would you like to say something?
This topic is so close to my heart that, every time I fall short of words, because there's so much in my heart that, my emotions take over my words, and I'm always short of words. But, I know, having said that, Priya has been fantastic with everything, of course, it's not just because she has been dealing with a lot of cancer patients, or cancer has been in the family with my mother-in-law and with Richa, but also she's such a strong person. And, that time I was not there. I flew in the next day after the news was broken out to Sanju. As you said, you felt Sanju is in a stage of denial. But when I looked at Sanju, he was very composed. He was calm. And he just looked at me and he said, "Mom, get ready to fight." And this is what I've been doing since the time that I know him, 18 years of my life that I am been with him. I have done one thing blindly, is I have believed in him. I have trusted his instinct. And so I was like, okay. And we decided as parents to Sharan and Ikra that we are not going to expose them a lot to what we are going through. And that has always been a strong decision from us as parents, and that we believed in. And of course, and I just followed Sanju. I am personally a strong believer of being very positive with my approach towards life. I believe what you throw to the universe comes back to you. And Sanju was just practicing that. He said, "I do not have cancer. I'm going to fight it." And that's how it went. So we had all the planning in place, but execution requires a lot of discipline. I was a bit worried, knowing Sanju. I've been 15 years of marriage and knowing him for 18 years. He's the most undisciplined person. We all know. He has been, there. But this was a task. But how beautifully he has just molded himself. And I feel every time there is something that has gone wrong, the most righteous way the righteous person has come out of it. So I feel so proud, and I feel great that today he's there as a face of this cause. And just keep it going, stay strong, because I feel Sanju, you are there, born here not for being entertaining. You said you're a real life hero, but I feel you're born for a much larger cause in life. You have been face of so many good causes, but I think this is putting your life there and teaching people, look, I have done it, you can do it. I think this is something, I feel proud, and I feel it's very commendable. And of course, Dr. Sivanti, you have been a very strong part and a supportive part of this entire journey. I know I've had these crazy conversations with you. I, of course, because of the time difference, I would call you at odd hours, and you have always been very supportive, not only as a doctor, but also as a guiding person, because I was going through a lot of emotional turmoil. And as I promised to Sanjay that I will stay strong, I had to stay strong. But, so you have always been there supporting me, guiding me. And yes, so thank you, everybody. And yeah.
Thank you. Mana, you said it right. You said it so right. He is the brave one. And through all the stories of indiscipline, Sanju was the patient who turned up on time every time. He never broke rules. He sailed through all the treatment. He took all the medicines on time. He took all the injections on time. He turned up for all his tests. So that's a testimony of his integrity as presented by Mrs. Manyata Dutt. And kudos to you, and more power to you, and more power to your message and your ability to come up front to the masses and share your story. Honored.
I just want to thank everybody sitting here to hear a little part of this story. I can go on and on, but it is so important that you have family support. It is so important for a patient that you have a beautiful family who stands like pillars in your life. I thank Mana, I thank my wonderful brother Paresh, I thank my beautiful sister Priya and Namrita and the kids and everybody. But that's taken for granted, that's going to be there, these people. But most of all, to have a supportive doctor for a patient. She is the Munna Bhai MBBS. And along with her is her team of Rutu and Chetan and Dr. Hemant and where's my darling Gina? There she is. The most wonderful team, they never made me feel like a patient. They made me feel like a king. And that is the beauty. I mean, it's just a touch from a doctor. It's a different ball game, I mean, doctors are busy and everything like that, but it's just that these people are amazing, and I think all the guys who are becoming doctors should learn from this team, because I've experienced this team for 2.5 years, nearly 3 years, and it's more of giving you that boost, and that I hate injections, but yet they,
Yes, that's the toughest thing. Any blood draw and any injection is the toughest thing. We have to really work our way through. But thank you, Sanju, for making time.
Thank you. ठीक है, सबसे पहले मैं यही कहना चाहता हूँ कि अगर आपको ऐसा महसूस होए तो आपको टेस्ट करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. मतलब आई थिंक टेस्टिंग बहुत ज़रूरी चीज़ होती है. मतलब हर 6 महीने में आदमी टेस्ट करे, जो स्मोकर हो या जो तंबाकू खाता हो. बिल्कुल उसमें कोई डरने की बात नहीं है, क्योंकि अर्ली डिटेक्शन इज़ द मेन थिंग. आई थिंक जो मैं कह रहा हूँ तो लेकिन वो करना बहुत ज़रूरी है, उससे डरना नहीं है. वो ट्रीटेबल चीज़ है. जैसे कि प्रिसीजन की बात कर रहे थे, अगर आपका पीडीएल लेवल बहुत अच्छा है तो हो जाता है काम, और सब यहाँ की बात है. और अगर फाइट करना है तो करना है. देखिए, कैंसर एक ऐसा शब्द हो गया है जैसे कि मतलब कि कैंसर हो गया है, ये हो गया. मैं समझता हूँ कि कैंसर एक बुरी बीमारी है, लेकिन हार्ट अटैक भी उतना ही बुरा है. किडनी फेलियर भी उतना ही ख़राब है. लिवर ट्रांसप्लांट भी उतना ही है, उससे भी ज़्यादा है. एंड लेकिन इससे आदमी को क्यों डर लगता है? क्योंकि इसको एक बड़ा चढ़ा के बोला गया है. ये भी एक डिजीज़ है जिसका हम सामना कर सकते हैं, और सामना करना ही चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से. तो जी, मुझे डर लगा. मैंने सोचा कि अभी क्या होगा, लेकिन कुछ नहीं हो सकता. जब इंसान अपने दिमाग से लड़े और दिमाग को मजबूत बनाए तो सब काबिल हो जाता है. देखिए, आई टेल यू वन थिंग के फिटनेस से, एक्सरसाइज से और एक हेल्दी वातावरण से आपका इम्यून सिस्टम बढ़ता है, एक बूस्ट होता है, जो इम्यूनोथेरेपी से भी होता है. लेकिन नेचुरल बूस्ट आपको व्यायाम से, एक हेल्दी डाइट से बहुत बहुत होता है, जो आई थिंक लोगों को ये समझना चाहिए और सीखना चाहिए, टू कॉम्बैट एनीथिंग. तो ये सब चीज़ें, ये चेंज आया है. मैंने डोंट टेक लाइफ फॉर ग्रांटेड, एज सिंपल एज दैट. नाउ आई कैन गो.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Priya.
Thank you so much.